Ladies and gentlemen, from wherever you are, good afternoon and welcome to the community show. Today we shall discuss a very important issue that has taken up the public discourse of debate all over the country, which is the State of the Nation address. But just a brief knowledge about this particular address. Article 101 of the 1995 Uganda Constitution empowers the office of the president to offer accountability to the country. And this accountability is made in form of an address. And as of last week, the president fulfilled his legal obligation and gave the country an accountability. But the question among the citizens still remains that, was this their expectation? Were their expectations met? But above all, what did they want the president to speak about precisely? We know the cross-cutting issues of the economy, issues around security, issues around healthcare, issues around many other social services. So the question is, were these areas tackled? And if they were tackled to the expectations of the citizens of Uganda? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the community show. I'm joined by a distinguished panel of so far one gentleman has joined us, so far one gentleman has joined us and two ladies. We hope that the rest can join us along the way. But let me just do the due diligence of introducing them to you so that I will also ask them to say a word to you as well. So we have Obich Awio Denis. Denis is a political and social activist and human rights defender. Denis joins us all the way from Lira City. Denis, many thanks for joining us. Say hello to our viewers.
Thank you, my host. Good morning, everyone who is listening to us, and greet you this morning as we come and discuss very important issues for this country. And we wish the State of the Nation address should have addressed many issues, but it is unfortunate. Most people are saying it was an hollow State of the Nation address. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Denis. We shall explore that more in the subsequent minutes. But let me go ahead to introduce our second panelist, who is Ayebare Prossy. Ayebare joins us all the way from Isingiro district, and she's a former contestant for the Isingiro North constituency member of parliament. She is a social worker and activist. Ayebare, good afternoon and many thanks for joining us. Kindly say hello to our viewers.
I'm called Ayebare Prossy from Isingiro district. I'm a social worker, an activist, and I contested as area MP, Isingiro North. I do welcome everyone in this talk, which concerns our Uganda.
Thank you very much, Prossy. The third panelist on the show is Katushabe Eunice Innocent. Katushabe is a gender specialist and a social sector planner. Katushabe, many thanks for joining us. Good afternoon. Kindly say hello to our viewers.
Hello, good morning, everyone who is on. Happy to be in the space. My name is Eunice Innocent Katushabe, as the moderator has said. And I think I joined this space as a citizen with no titles. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Even being a citizen is a title. Well, yeah, the last panelist on the show so far who has joined is the youth leader of the Forum for Democratic Change, Comrade Mulindwa Walid Lubega. Comrade, many thanks for joining us this afternoon. How is the FDC? Kindly say hello to our viewers.
Good evening, Comrade Kidega and colleagues in this civic space. I'm Mulindwa Lubega, the National Youth League Chairperson of the Forum for Democratic Change Party. I'm a businessman, I'm a social worker, I'm also a leader. I'm glad to be part of this civic event. Thanks, CCP, for offering this space.
Okay, Walid, let me just begin with you. Although I won't ask you to put your microphone closer to your mouth so that we can hear you much more clearer. Let me start with you. What were your expectations from the State of the Nation address? What did you expect the president to speak about? Before discussing what he spoke about, what were your expectations given the circumstances we are going through as a country?
My expectations, first of all, I expect the president to, first of all, make an accountability to the nation. The president has been in power for the last 35 years, 36 years, and we, under his administration, we had a number of challenges. But to make the story short, that I expected the president to miss the current prevailing economic crisis, the skyrocketing inflation, the runaway inflation that has led to the hikes of living. Previously, when he addressed the nation via media wave back, he came with motion and he left to God, everybody for his own and good for us all. And people were given alternative for this mobile because they were unable to provide the state was unable to provide practical solution. So after that, we expected in the state of the national president to come up with practical, achievable solutions. Maybe to subsidize the issue of fuel, the issue of give practical solutions to the economy. But we really, the president's address was short of solution. It was an empty speech. It is really that's what even our members of parliament to boycott the address parliament. So the expectation handling the crisis, handling the, for example, the unemployment malaise, especially that is affecting the young. For me, my own expectation was the government coming up with come up with our expectation was that the president should have addressed the issue of the runaway inflation, the economic crisis that hit the country, but the presidential address was short, practical, achievable solution to the prevailing circumstance. So it is something that actually prompted our members of parliament from the opposition bench to boycott that sitting because the presidential address was empty. We expected the president to address the issue of unemployment, which is actually affecting the young people. We expected the president to come up with clear solutions. For example, coming up with employment hub targets. The presidential address was empty on that. So really, I didn't see it. With the action of lamenting that the corrupt people have left it to God. The president was crying, the country is crying, the president is crying. So really, we have nobody to run. He was also lamenting how Dr. Besigye is on street and he is not walking properly like the one of Namugongo. And in my own thinking, the working of Dr. Besigye has yielded, because if the president could really feel the pinch of Dr. Besigye's working, maybe we could urge Dr. Besigye to continue more with the protests. Maybe that is how we shall pump in the president and comes up with the practical solution to address the current situation. But the expectation we had, the president never addressed was this expectation. The address was empty. That is what I can summarize from the presidential address that we listened to.
Okay, thank you very much, Comrade Walid. Katushabe, let me come to you. Walid is a politician. Let me now speak to an ordinary citizen and hear your own view. Before the State of the Nation address, what were your expectations? deep down, what did you expect the president to speak about?
Thank you so much, Moses, and thank you so much, Walid. Seriously, I think I didn't have a lot of expectations because I mean, if you've been listening to these speeches, it looks like there has been quite a number of things that he keeps repeating. And so for me, sometimes I don't even really take, I don't take time to listen in. But seriously, with the current situations in the country, I expected him to address some of those issues. And one of them, obviously, is as just like Walid mentioned, is the economic crisis that currently we have in the country that is affecting, I mean, almost everyone, regardless of, status or situation you're in. And maybe the other thing would be around health, the health challenges. For those who have been watching news, you're seeing, health workers striking, demonstrating because of the unfulfilled promises. And so I expected him to address some of those things. But unfortunately, of course, as always, I was not shocked, of course. As always, he had to go back to his normal speeches. And I mean, what to do? We just had to listen in, and here we are, wanting to be in a space to just think through or deliberate on what he shared with us as a nation. But Moses, I think that's what I can say. As a citizen, I expected him to address some of those issues I've mentioned. And since they were not addressed, I mean, I didn't see any practical kind of solutions. It didn't work. It was not worth it. It was not worth my time to just sit and listen. Yeah, thank you. Over to you, Moses.
All right. Thank you very much. There is so much growing pessimism so far. But let me pick on the views of Mr. Obich Awio. Mr. Obich, what were your own expectations? We have heard from Comrade Walid and from Comrade Eunice Katushabe. What are your own expectations, Mr. Awio? Then I will pick up from there and get Prossy's view. Obich Awio, kindly turn on your microphone, turn on your video, and tell us your own opinion. Mr. Awio, if you can hear me, I'm saying that turn on your microphone and turn on your video and give us what your expectations were. All right, as we wait for Mr. Awio to set, okay, finally I stand on his video and okay, finally.
Yes, Moses.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you
go
so
ahead.
much. Yeah. Me as a citizen of this country, I had a lot of expectations. And the most pressing expectation I had, we in the north here, we are really suffering. And in particular, Lang region, we are really suffering over the issues of infrastructure, especially if you have traveled to northern Uganda of recent and passed the Great North Road of Lira to Kamdini. I suspect you must know this road. We really had a very big expectation that the president was going to mention something about it, because recently in January, we mobilized for a demonstration over this road because it is in a very deplorable state. And we had to, the president had to make a short visit to Lango, and he came to Yam in a place called Loro on 22nd of January, and addressed the people, saying they were going to remove this road from the World Bank project from Tororo to Kamdini, and the government of Uganda was going to take it up with the government of Uganda funds, and we would have the road reconstructed. But up to now, as I tell you, there's nothing tangible. They had a gimmick, I could say a political gimmick, groundbreaking ceremony in April in a place called Ayer, But what we see here, the contractor Motor Angel is just doing maintenance. The maintenance is even making the road worse because you find they are filling the road with the what? With the maram. That was my first expectation. And what we learned recently, just 2 weeks ago, we had the physical infrastructure committee of parliament here in Lango inspecting this road, and we interacted with them. We established there's no budget for this road, and I really expected my president to tell us something about this. And secondly, what I expected was the government intervention on the cost of fuel. And you know, fuel is the factor which will bring all these other issues of high cost of commodities. It would bring all the issues about inflation is around cost of fuel. I expected my government to intervene by maybe reducing the taxes on fuel, because I understand per liter of fuel we are paying 1,450 shillings in taxes. I expected the government to have reduced, or could have even said we are first scrapping it for the time being, and maybe we shall bring back the taxes on the fuel after we have stabilized. So really, I didn't see any intervention from my president over this. For now,
Okay. Yes.
I concur.
Okay.
I concur with my colleagues Walid and Katushabe over what they have brought up, but those are my expectations.
Okay. Thank you very much. We shall expand on that slightly later on. Let us hear from Ayebare Prossy. Prossy, what were your own expectations from this particular address?
Yeah, my expectations, really, I expected the president of Uganda to address the issues, how they are. But according to the address, it did not match with the reality. And that is the biggest challenge we do have in our country, Uganda. And another disappointment I got on that day, the opposition leaders boycotting. Because I was asking myself, these are the members of the parliament, the representatives of people from different constituencies, and the state of the president to address citizens on the state of the country, the state of the nation. To me, it is part of their business. I was disappointed by the president, disappointed by the opposition leaders. Now I keep asking myself, where are we heading? We ordinary people. The president is disappointing us. The people we trusted with whatever our votes, they are disappointing us. Now, who is there for us? Where is the Uganda? And I'm asking myself, how are these opposition leaders and our MPs, how are going to react on president's speech when they did not attend? Another thing, really, in this time, I expected a special attention from the president. Why? Because of the situation we are in. The COVID thing, the Ukraine and Russia issues. I expected much attention from the president, but he came in with his normal speech. To me, really not attaching the issues, because I expected him to take us through the education, health sector, in all sectors, because it's what we expected. We wanted to see how far we have gone. We wanted to see the challenges we are really facing, and we wanted to hear from him giving us the solutions. But really, I was much disappointed. And he came in congratulating us that we have reached the middle income status. And I asked myself, really, is he a president of Uganda, or is a president of another country. Because you see the situation on the ground and you ask yourself that really, have we reached? What does it mean? That means they are all relaxing. Because once you fix yourself on a step where you have not reached, instead of struggling and working hard to reach a such step, and now you are comforting yourself. The president is comfortable, the MPs are comfortable, and the Ugandans are comfortable. Now I'm asking myself, who is standing for a country? Who is standing in such situations? So really, I was much disappointed, and I'm asking myself, where are we heading? Where is the Uganda of today? And where is the Uganda of tomorrow? Really, I was much disappointed. And the situation on the ground is totally worse. Totally worse. You go in health sectors, hospitals are almost closing. You go to schools, you go in the villages, you go in the tertiary whatever institutions, you go in the universities. You see really how we are much affected. You go in the economy, you see how the dollar is expensive. You see our imports and exports. Really, I was much disappointed, and really, I don't see any, how can I say it? I have failed to build my trust in my president and in my MPs at large. So I call upon Ugandans. We need to come out. We need to say enough is enough. Now let us stand in for ourselves, because our leaders are not there for us. That is my views.
All right. Thank you very much, Prossy. Yeah, we hear you, and let's see how the conversation goes on. Let me pick up from where you've stopped. Walid, it looks like it's not only the president who is taking criticism regarding the Sona Day, but also the opposition leaders who you proudly said that, you know, they absconded, they didn't appear in parliament, and therefore they did not meet up their legal obligation, because they were elected to represent the people in the parliament of Uganda. So them not appearing in parliament is like your parents paying your tuition, telling you to go to school, buying you books, buying you everything you need, then you don't attend lectures. So that is what Prossy is trying to say, that the opposition MPs are being paid, but they are not doing what they're supposed to do. So what do you have to say about that, about opposition MPs not being in parliament and therefore not having platform to generate alternative views to the country?
Thank you very much, Kidega. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Noted. Speaking from where my sister stopped, reacting to her presentation, I share the sentiment with her, with the way the address was designed, the way the president came and gave address. It did not actually address the real issue, but commenting on the members of parliament, the conduct of members of parliament walking away on the president. One, I think my sister need to be informed that that alone was a communication. It communicated, it's been with something. Members of parliament boycotting the president's address. MPs, we are always taken for a ride as opposition and the country at large. So our working in itself is communication. It is a signal that we are not ready to entertain nonsense. Secondly, the rules of procedure parliament are very clear that the president should be listened to in silent when he's delivering a set of the national address. So you couldn't expect the leader of opposition or MPs to react instant when the president was addressing or heckle. So my thinking is that members of parliament were following the presidential from wherever they are, even after, even it is on social media, print media, so can really pick from. And secondly, in the rules of procedure of parliament, the members of parliament are given privilege to, first of all, react. The leader of opposition will come up with a very extensive statement, comprehensive statement, responding to what the president addressed. And then after, the members of parliament, the colleagues, will all respond to particular issues the president maybe didn't address clearly. So all is not lost. I want to comfort my sister. Our members of parliament will have time, and they will actually come with an alternative message that we, the opposition, think we would have delivered if we were in power. If we were the one leading this country, our message would be different. So I think in the few time to come, the speaker will actually give opportunity to our members of parliament led by the leader of opposition to react. So I want to comfort her that that alone was a signal. But I want also to comment on what she presented. In my own thinking, the president is an being is accountability. But the state of the nurse in the is an all-round accountability, detailed sector by sector, education, rules, and so we is that 6-year-old and has actually delivered the issue of
Eunice, Innocent Katushabe. Let us speak slightly about the economy. You know, the government of Uganda has brought upon the parish development model, and the idea is that how can we alienate poverty from the lowest level, which is the parish? And the NRIM and the president are very optimistic that this program is going to be a driving economic force. It has, and the views from the public has been both positive, but also some have been, criticizing it. And the president, in his address, I think he mentioned and emphasized the parish development model. He did hint on it. So he emphasized that this is the program that is going to economically empower citizens of Uganda. What do you think is our economic strategy as a country? Do you think that the parish development model is one that is going to be a silver bullet, and that it has the right diagnosis for the economic challenges of the country, and therefore Ugandans should be hopeful that this will be a driving force? Or what is your alternative view, or what should be done to address the economic challenges that we are undergoing as a country?
Thank you so much, Moses. Though when you talk about a silver bullet, I don't get to see any around. But yes, of course, I heard him talk about the parish development model. And I mean, I kept asking myself how many models have been brought in place and they've not really worked. We've had quite a number. If you look at the National Development Plan, the current National Development Plan, even the previous ones, it really shows you the different, models that have been developed, the different strategies that have been developed and put in place to see that, it supports on the current situation, but also addresses the issue of poverty. I mean, this has been a challenge for quite some time, and we cannot blame it onto the current things that are causing the situations we have apparently in the country. And so for me, I don't see it as a silver bullet, as you say. Though, yes, it makes at, I think, a slightest point, support a few, just like the rest of the other models have been. I mean, we've had quite a number, Gawale, Akina, so many, but how many people have gained? How many people have, have been supported with all this? A lot of funds have been, put into some of those models, and surprisingly, the result itself is not so, empowering or encouraging. And so for me, I think there's so many models that have not yielded results for quite some time. And bringing up the parish development model, I feel like it's not going to be different from the rest of the other models. And so even when you look at, if they're really planning for this model, if you look at the budget itself, they have planned, I mean, the annual amount or the plan that they put in place for the State House is way beyond, it triples the amount that has been planned for the parish development model. And I was looking into it and I'm like, okay, so if the amount that is supposed to support State House is way beyond, it triples the amount that has been, put in place to support the parish development model, then I mean, maybe I need someone to really tell me or inform me of how this is really going to work, of how Ugandans are going to benefit from this, of how this is going to support an everyday woman or everyday man on the road. And so I feel like the government itself, or the president, and and all the advisors around him needs to really look into some of these things. We need to learn from our experiences. We need to learn from things that have been around, things we have been creating, and get to learn that, okay, if this has not been working, then what else can we do? But it looks like we've not learned from our mistakes. We've not learned from our own experiences as a country. And yet, the different models that have not been working, some of them are just on shelf. Some of them have not even been implemented. Some of them are just into people's offices and people's inboxes and laptops. And so for me, I'm saying that we need to learn from our experiences, the so-called practice-based learning. We need to look back. Okay, if we brought Bonaba Gagawale and we planned for this thing for quite some time, we incurred this amount of cost, but this did not work, then how best can we move forward and bring forward a strategy, bring forward a model that can work better than this, or bring forward ways that can, actually, we can still use the same models, but again, see how we can revise and improve. But it looks like we have not learned at all. And we can only learn when we are documenting. We can only learn when we are, we document things that are happening in the field. We document things that are happening in the different areas, from the local government, because I mean, these models are set down because when we talk about supporting an everyday person in the country, we are looking at a people-oriented kind of strategy. And if we are bringing up the parish development model as a people-oriented kind of strategy, then we need to look back. If yes, at some point we brought up a model to support the youth and the elderly, but didn't work. Recently, I was watching news and I got to see that they want to re-register the elderlies that were receiving the 20,000 shillings, I don't know per which specific period. And I mean, they're even extending the age from a certain age to another age. And so it gives you this thing that most of the things that they've been putting in place are not really working. And so we need to go back to the drawing board. We need to learn from those models that have been put in place. We need to learn from our very own experiences. Some of these things have worked, some of them have not worked, but greatly, most of them have not worked. if you go back and see all those strategies that the government has been putting in place, most of them have not worked. And even when you look at even the usual one that is from way back about education, it has also not worked, because when you look at the UPE schools currently, people are paying money to even get to school. Parents are paying money for child to get, something to eat at school. So yet it was meant to be free, So when we look at all those different models and strategies seriously, and we see that we've not yielded any results, here we are on the same thing, singing the same song, repeating ourselves, then there is a challenge. There is a challenge somewhere, and we need to check ourselves as a country. We need to check ourselves as government and see, okay, if this is what we've been doing, if this is what we've been saying and it is not working, then we need to go back to the drawing board and learn from those documented experiences and see how to move forward. Otherwise, I really disagree with you. This is not a silver bullet, whatever. It's not magic. It is not going to do any wonders. And seriously, no one should expect, people should not raise their expectations around this model, because with the little information that I have about it, I feel like it may not really work as expected. Yeah, back to you, Moses, and I'm happy to deliberate more when we get, as we go forward to discuss here.
All right, thank you, Innocent. Walid, I've seen your message that your network is now stable, so I'll give you a chance to complete your point before I can move to Mr. Awio. So Walid, you have the floor to complete your point. Mr. Awio Obich, let me come to you. Still around the economy, Uganda, our economic basket, our money basket is limited. That is true. Our tax base is still quite narrow. Therefore, URA or government ends up not collecting enough money. But even with the little money that we collect, the issue of corruption still remains a big concern. I have read a report by a government from the Auditor General, and this was a government report, that we lose about 2 trillion to corruption each and every single financial year. So the issue of corruption came up in the previous State of the Nation address of last year, and the president was proposing the use of the descendants of the freedom fighters to be, anti-corruption agents. Unlike this year's SONA address, the president, yes, complained about corruption, but he did not go further to maybe guide the country on how best we can go around this corruption issue. And I think that corruption continues to haunt and bite us as a country. So what do you think should have been said about the area of corruption? Mr. Abio Owich.
It is very unfortunate that we have had so many anti-corruption agencies in the country, and we have been having so many units, like the State House Anti-Corruption Unit, which was brought up later. We have the IGG, we have the CID, we have so many other organs fighting corruption. But to date, maybe I could understand, maybe it is only Kazimba who has ever been jailed for corruption. But all these other investigations end up, we don't know even where they end up. Like the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, always you find them grilling members of maybe the civil servants who appear before them. You find them being handed over to CID, but you will never find any of them produced in court. You have never got any of them being imprisoned for corruption, and you have never even found any of them refunding the money they have swindled. You said it was the last State of the Nation address of last year. The president talked of using some cadres to fight corruption, but sometimes I find the president is just trying to reward his own people, reward his cadres, the ones who keep him in power, the ones he finds ways of rewarding them, because there's no employment now. he finds any means of employing them and getting them on board to have a share of the national cake through those appointments and the anti-corruption team, like now the Nakalemas, or Nakalema is no longer in that office, but the one who has replaced him, that unit has so many people who are earning from it. And of recent, I learned whenever they go and arrest somebody or they take up an investigation, it is also another money minting business for them. They keep going and asking, where is the money? Where have you put the money? And you find these corrupt people are giving them money and they are released. You might find somebody's arrested today, like recently they arrested 2 people from Lira here for issues of land, public land, which they have located inappropriately. But all these people are just out, and we understand they have lost a lot of money to get themselves out of the hook. So me, I find the whole thing is just that the government is not having the will. They don't have the will to fight corruption. If they had the will, otherwise corruption will be no more. You just see in the early days of NRM, those days of the 80s, the early 80s, 86 to 89, 90 there, the soldiers were very disciplined. Those ones who would go looting and robbing people around. Most of them were shot in firing squad. And do you see any soldier going to rob these days? They are not there because they handle them the ash way. If they are handling the corrupt people the ash way, by now would be what? We would not be having corrupt people in this country. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Prossy, let me come to you. Prossy, as you submit, I'm going to request you to shift your camera because the angle that it was earlier on, we could not see your face clearly. So I'm going to request that that as you respond to this question, you shift your camera so we can see you well. But the question is still around the economy, because I think the biggest question of the day is around the economy. So the concern then would be one around the coffee question. It is true that coffee has taken so many students to school. Coffee has fed generations. Coffee has educated generations. It is such an important cash crop in Uganda's economic paradigm. So we cannot leave this conversation without dissecting the coffee question and the president's response regarding that particular matter. The president gave a very good analysis. Okay, according to my view, he gave the numbers of how globally coffee contributes about 146 billion US dollars in terms of capital, but then Africa, who are the largest producers of this coffee, benefit only about 4%, something like that. So he did good in terms of analyzing and giving us the statistics. But then what remains of the coffee deal, of the coffee question between Vinci Coffee Company and the government of Uganda? I didn't see a fundamental nail on the coffin that addressed that issue and put it to bed, but rather it was a mere comment, and it is still a gray area. What do you think should have been said about the coffee question, and where does this leave Ugandans who are highly vested in the coffee business? Of course, here you speak on the aspect of value addition that the coffee company was trying to propose, among other things. Yes, you're clear, Prossy. Proceed.
This matter of coffee, really, I'm much disappointed. The way how President addressed that issue is as if he was commanding, and in me, I ask myself, what benefit in this project of coffee? Where do farmers are protected? Where do farmers benefit? That is my concern. because the policies and laws, really, our farmers are not protected at any way. And saying adding the value, yes, I believe in that. But after that value addition, who is benefiting? Our country as Uganda is not benefiting, because these factories and whatsoever are owned by the individuals, not as Uganda as a country. The prices in the market at the international level, our farmers are not sensitized. Our farmers are not prepared to reach that prices in the international whatever markets. In this, I see that our farmers are going to be used in helping these people in the private sector to reach the international market. The way he was protecting this Italian woman, why not a Ugandan? Why not our government, our country as Uganda, to be involved, to take part in that business of coffee? Because as you go on the world market, you find that Uganda, we have a good position in the countries who are leading in growing coffee. And what are we benefiting as the country? How the government is preparing the citizens, how the government is preparing the farmers, how the government is encouraging the farmers to benefit at the end of the day. I'm much disappointed, and really, I call upon the MPs to look into this seriously, how to protect our farmers, how to protect our Ugandans. I want to see Uganda as a country benefiting much in this project of coffee, but not the Italian whatever, the Italian woman. As he mentioned that she's a middle woman. She has no knowledge in coffee. Only that she has the networks. Why can't we Ugandans, why can't Uganda as a country build that connection, build that network until we reach in the international market, until we fetch the international prices? But not these Italians, and it's our Ugandans, it's our leaders who are hiding themselves in the Italian woman. I don't think the Italian woman is much interested in this coffee business. It is all about our leaders who are disappointing us, and I really keep on calling upon all the Ugandans standing and say, enough is enough. No. We need to fight for ourselves. We need to fight for our country as Uganda. I want to see the opposition leaders now coming out on issues concerning the citizens, on issues concerning our economy, but not on such issues really, which are less much concerned in our societies.
All right. Thank you very much, Prossy. Walid, I can see that you're telling me that your network is now stable. Let me give you a chance to make the point you're trying to make earlier on.
Okay, thank you very much. I've changed the gadget. Yes, the point I was trying to bring forward was about accountability. Our expectation, we expected the president to come up with the annual round accountability, detailing sector by sector, health, infrastructure, education, justice, and reform, and so on. But we really, because previously on was it on Tuesday? On Tuesday, I watched the ODM party leader, who is now flying the Azimio la Umoja coalition flag for the presidential candidate of Kenya, contest of Kenya. They are going to have election on 9th of August this year. And when he was launching the manifesto, his manifesto at Nyayo Stadium, he came up with very convincing 10 points. And listening to the presentation of Raila Odinga, you could see a leader who was alive to the situation of the country, where Kenya is, and also giving alternative how his government is going to address the prevailing circumstance and beyond. The issue of Baba Care, the issue of coming up with 6 million well-paying jobs, the issue of fighting corruption, and so on. I expected for President Museveni not to be like Baba. Baba is just promising because he's running for an office. I expected President Museveni, who has been at the helm of presidency for the last 36 years, to come up with accountability. How far is the issue of healthcare beyond the building that we have in the old districts? Do we have well-equipped health facilities with medicine, with the patient to doctor ratio? How has he been able to address it? The equipments in the hospitals, the education. We are now having a dead education system. So we expected the president to come up with something really promising, that my administration has been able to do this. We have failed to handle this, but this is the promise to fix this. But the address was devoid of those kind of whatever. That's why we concluded that it was an empty message. So moving on to the issue of Vinci, the president came up and really assured the country that he's the owner of Vinci. Pinetti, the Italian, the president is the one who actually went and convinced her and told her, you know, I have a deal. Here is the deal. Can you be able to deliver on it? And the lady requested the president time to go and consult. Thereafter, a few days, the lady came back and told the president, yes, I think it is workable. You see that the president is the one who actually hijacked. The president came up with the broker. So the president is now mortgaging the only cash cow of Ugandans. Really, this is unfair in my own thinking, that we are going to hand over whatever that left of what the country is benefiting to only one person. And I think Ugandans, we have not learned enough, because we've not learned from our past mistakes. We just welcome whatever thing that comes before us. About 10 years back, the president came up with the Agro textile business in Bugolobi, the former commercial, whatever. He came up with the AGOA, and they came up with a Sri Lanka national called Vilupilai Kananathan. And we were promised that they are going to create new jobs. Kananathan is going to improve the textile industry. The textile business will be booming. And we can really audit where Kananathan, with all the money we gave him, where is he now? Right now he's an ambassador to Kenya. Can you imagine? And the business collapsed completely. Can't we learn from our previous mistakes? That's why members of parliament rejected the argument and told the president that it is not in the best interest of the country. And told the president, please, can you really shelve it? It is not necessary for you to create monopoly for one investor. And it is even the president.
It is not the investor, the penalty, it is the president. He confirmed it in the set of the national address. How he's actually using the country as if it is his own personal estate, trading it on his own behalf. Because we cannot, the president cannot show us any kind of tangible benefit that we benefited from Vilupilai.
Have we lost Walid?
Hello? Hello?
Yes, Walid, proceed. Walid, proceed.
Okay, thank you. I was trying to build a point that we have not learned from our own previous mistakes, that Vilupilai Kananathan cannot come up with has never come up with any tangible benefits with all the colossal amount of money that we pumped into that venture of AGOA. We have never recovered anything. And having lost out on AGOA, the president is also coming up with something similar, very similar, and it will be very disastrous because it is now targeting the indigenous, the only surviving because you have the BCU. Our projection as FDC, we thought the president could come up with the program of empowering these BCUs, the organic, the native businesses that are thriving. Can we empower? Can we bring back the Masaka Growers Union, East Mengo, West Mengo, Banyankole, Kweterana? Can we really empower those institutions to go and do coffee business on its own, rather than really mortgaging, giving it, handing over whatever that is left to only one person to go and kill, completely kill, murder, hamstrung, the only surviving? We think that is really unfair. And the president was unfair. That's why even Parliament came up and said, no, we think the argument is not in the best interest of the country. So in the president's address, you saw somebody who is actually looking at a country as his own personal estate, that he can go and shop for somebody, bring him, give a face that he's the one in charge, and yet the president is the one in charge. You see how the country is being mortgaged. So in our own projection, the president really did address the key issues, and we expect him to do better.
Yes, thank you very much, Walid. My concern to you next was around the issue of security, but now that you've spoken for a very long time, I'm now being forced to shift the security question to someone else. And I'll pick up from where you've stopped. Katushabe, Eunice, the issue of security continues to remain one of NRM's biggest, what I would call strength. They boast about how they have restored security, peace, and security in the country. And even when ADF attempted to destabilize us, we now managed to phase them out, and now we are in Congo under the Operation Shuja, military operation. So, and well, the issue of Karamoja still remains hanging, but I think largely the NRM has managed to address the issue around security. So do you think that the address as of last week was reflective of the security question that we're having as a country? Was there confidence building around the issues of peace and stability, or one of things could have been done better?
Yeah, thank you very much, Moses. I love the insights around security. I think one, the government has tried, I would say, it has tried to ensure that, it provides, security to the country. However, there are certain areas where it has failed. And as you've mentioned, quite a number of pending things that are, that are happening in the country. If you look at the Kejong region, what they're experiencing at the moment, which has been on for quite some time, and then, the ADF, and then, the current national threat towards security, especially towards the citizens of the country, that, you know, someone can just disappear in a moment without even getting to know where, you know, this person is. Someone can just be taken anywhere without, you know, being noticed or, sorry, I'm having echoes. Maybe we could have people mute and then, okay. So I think, Moses, as you've said, just like I was saying, that there are pending issues. The government has really tried to see that, yes, it is, you know, providing security, of course, around the borders, but though at some extent they have failed. Of course, we've seen so many things, and most of this, when we talk about the security issue, it affects, you know, the citizens. It does not only affect the people in power, but it affects us, the, you know, the people on the ground. You know, I've seen so many security threats in that, especially here in the central region. We are talking about other areas, and we are running away from our own very political center, because the central region is more like the, you know, the command center, because most of the, you know, most of the things run within, you know, the central region. And so we've seen people disappear, you know, we've seen people, you know, arrested without notice. We have seen quite a number of things happening. And of course, the government has not come out to say anything. All they do is lie. You see a full-grown police officer coming up on, you know, on national television to lie to the country that this happened. And it's not the truth. And yet people have, and I love how Ugandans have grown in, you know, taking recording and having, you know, this evidence that, you know, once something is happening, they really take an initiative to you know what, to record. And so, you know, the country, people in power coming out to lie to us, coming out to, you know, say certain things, and yet it's not the reality, I think really puts us down. And then, but on the other side, I would say they have also tried, because we've had quite a number of threats. I remember the previous threat around the bombs, which, I mean, claimed quite a number of lives. And some people even are still in hospitals. Some people, so many people got injured. Things were destroyed, but they were able to maintain and just to contain the situation. And we can see that now that we've moved into this year, some of the things have really calmed down. Most of the alarming things have really gone down. And the ADF situation, I mean, this has been on for years. And I don't think, Moses, I'm in the right position to really deliberate and go further and discuss more around security, because I'm not the kind that really puts my nose into what is happening politically and even around the security challenges in the country. Maybe I could request some of my colleagues to come in at this point and get to share. But from me, from my point of view, I feel like it is a 50-50. They have tried at a certain point, but again, they have failed the country at a certain point. And where they need now to pull up their stockings, they need to pull themselves together and see that they address some of those situations where they have failed the country. Thank you, and over to you.
All right, thank you, Innocent. Let us hear from Mr. Awio. Mr. Awio, Innocent has, made a request that you comment on the security issue. So I'll give you a minute to comment on that particular issue. But also, my own question to you is around, because the president mentioned the entrance of the Democratic Republic of Congo and the benefits that come with it. Benefits like a wider market, benefits like strategic security depth, among other benefits. So what is your own perspective regarding the entrance of the Democratic Republic of Congo into the East African Federation and what it means for us as a country, but also then you could comment around the aspect of security. So Awio, the floor is yours.
Now, Eunice is talking about government having secured the country 50-50. But to me, security is not the silence of the gun. when other members of the country are suffering. We have so many people still in safe houses and many places incarcerated without their relatives and friends knowing where they are. And I feel this is insecurity. And we have had several issues around, and you see police have been torturing people every other time. Just recently, last week, we had some policemen torturing an employee of Al Sadim, a company which is constructing Pachlira Road, and it went viral on the social media. You could have even seen it when they arrested the boy, and he was in handcuffs, but the police were beating him seriously. And this government has taken it. It's an impunity for them to to punish and torture people in this country. And to me, I feel we still have a very big question over security of this country. I've talked about our entry into the Congo, entering into the East African community, and prospects about it. I feel Congo being a very vast country and with so many resources, it would be of great advantage for them to join the East African community. But I find it is also controversial what is really happening. And I think last week, coming into this week, Rwanda has been having issues with the Congo. And I feel this is not in the spirit of brotherhood as member states, because you find Rwanda still has issues with the Congo about, I think, the M23 rebels and the Interamwe, who have been fighting all along. And whenever the M23 eats and Interamwe are also eating, these two countries are in conflict. And I find we are still going to have that problem for long, because we have had people in this region, the leaders in this region, like the president of Rwanda. I think with whatever touches on Rwanda, whatever touches on their security is not even negotiable in any way with any person. With him, he always wants to have it right, and nobody can advise him on what to do. I saw a cartoon where they were sharing a bed, like in a secondary school, a double-decker bed, where Rwanda was down, and Congo was on the upper deck. And it is really alarming what I saw in that cartoon. But all in all, I think Congo joining the East African community would be of great benefit with their vast resources, and the vast population would provide a better market for the East African community, and we would be doing better trade if all were doing, if all the countries were doing their things right. But I think there are people who have invited Congo into this business just to do their own personal gains. Like for us in Uganda, we are now even constructing roads in Congo. Yet we have very dilapidated state of our roads here in Uganda. And I find the economic benefit of that road is just a few individuals who are in government, and those who are really benefiting from this government. Like now they're in Congo, but immediately they entered Congo, I saw videos of timber being loaded onto trucks, being brought into Uganda. I don't think this is fair for that country. And you very well know Uganda still has issues in the international court to pay up what we did in Congo, sometimes back in the 90s and early 2000, when we had the Kisangani issue, and Congo took us to international court. We still have to pay that, and I know Uganda is going to have a very big debt burden in the coming years, because like now we are living at the expense of the future generation. With us who are living today, we cannot pay all these debts. You know, the debt burden of Uganda is standing at 75 trillion shillings, more than our GDP. So I find we still have many issues, though I welcome the issue of Congo joining the East African community. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. We have been joined by another panelist, and I'll just introduce him and ask him to also give us what were his expectations from the SONA address. Mr. Abraham Muganzi is a multimedia journalist and a professional accountant, and also currently works with New Vision and Benson Associates, which is an audit firm. Mr. Muganzi, many thanks for joining us. Good afternoon. Kindly let us know what your expectations were from the SONA address, but also anything else that you think that the president should have spoken about or emphasized regarding that particular address. Mr. Muganzi, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, my fellow panelists. First of all, I want to apologize for coming in because I'm a country and the network issues, you know them. Moses, can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, straight to the point, to the question which you asked me. Yesterday, the president spoke and touched on a number of issues, and my expectations were about 4. The first one, I expected him to give us hope in terms of the struggling economy, which is really struggling at the moment. Number 2, I expected him to update us on the quick progress that is being taken as far as our oil is concerned, the oil which is coming in the next 2 years. Number 3, I expected him to address a number of very pertinent issues that are currently on the table. First one is the fuel crisis. And number 2, there are enough that have been done and which we make. First expectation is that I wanted him to touch on the issue is I can see the resurgence of researching on a serious note. So I wanted him to give us this time a more clear strategy on whether very soon we might put some lockdowns or the economy will remain fully open. I listened to his speech up to the end. After listening to him, now this is a summary of what I make. The first one is that he addressed especially the general issues to do with the economy, but I was very, very extremely disappointed on a number of issues which he didn't give us, which he left hanging. The first one is the issue to do with commodities. You see, when the president says that at the moment, as government, there is nothing we can do in as far as the escalating prices are concerned. Yes, I understand this Uganda is a capitalistic economy. It is a free economy where we expect the forces of demand and supply to be the ones determining the prices. But at the end of the day, you see there are key issues or there are key commodities that affect a daily person, a day-to-day person, a local person. And I told you that always on this show, I normally represent the other ordinary, very ordinary person down in Chanamkaka, in Masaka. Now, when you tell an ordinary person in Chanamkaka as a government that a bar of soap, which is at 10,000, and I have no option as government on what to do at the moment,
until the things will play out themselves. Then this person now loses hope and says, what type of government do I have really? So I expected, you see, when you make a clear analysis of these issues to do with the commodities, the escalating prices of commodities, it is basically brought about by two things. One, the escalating prices of fuel, which is affecting transport. The second one is the raw materials that are coming, majorly coming from outside. Now, you see, like what other countries are doing, because the general prices are rising all over the world. But what other countries are doing, for example, like Tanzania, what they are doing is that if you are importing crude oil for making soap, for example, and you have been buying it from, rebuying it from Dubai, or getting it direct from Sri Lanka, or from Asia. Now, there are so many alternatives around the world where prices are controlled and they don't go beyond, even if there is a crisis. So you change the alternative and say, in the next 2 months, in the next 1 month, let us, if we have been buying from Asia, let us buy from Europe. If we have been buying from Europe, let us buy from North Africa. You get it? Where things are cheaper. Then you so that you can have a smaller impact in the reduction of prices by just shifting from the market where you have been usually buying to another one. That is one. Two is you could say that, like the president was saying, that we cannot touch anything to do with prices, making subsidies or what. But you see, the other day, I still give an example of Tanzania. The president said, of Tanzania said, no, we can, at the moment, you know this fuel, when it is coming, there are ingredients that it's not the same. Now, these ingredients are added on the ingredients, not on the real fuel, which comes, the real complete product, but the ingredients that are added in the fuel. For example, the coloring. This is what they did. The issues to do, for example, you can say, now on the issue of coloring, we are going to reduce like 70% of our taxes on the issue of coloring. And that directly impacts on the real on the final product that we put in. So that one, I was very disappointed. When it goes to, because now you look at our inflation, the inflation which is hitting us is basically on two things: the increase in fuel and then the food. Now, things to do with the food. I heard the president saying that we have been having surplus in the last few years, 2, 3, 4. We have surplus of milk, maize, all sorts of things. But at the moment, there is no surplus. Now we are supposed to be asking ourselves, what has happened to the surplus which has been there last year, and this year it's not there? What has really impacted in the moment? So that means that farmers, especially the last 6 or 5 months, where farmers have been buying issues to do implements like fertilizer and what, to increase on farm production. That means when the prices of fuel shoot up and the price of fertilizer now, which has been at 70,000, now it is at 140,000, almost double. That means the farmers will not put fertilizers in the gardens, and the gardens will produce almost a half less. So that is the problem. Now, the third one is when you look at the structure of our economy, the bureaucratic system that we have. Anything you are going to address, it will take you almost 3, 4, 5 months. Taking a decision, and then the decision trickling from the ministry up to the last person on the ground takes 4, 5 months. And you ask yourself, why? Why can't we streamline the system of government so that when you take a decision at a ministry level or at parliamentary level, that decision quickly trickles down to the ground so that things can start moving in 1 or 2 months? That is the third one. The first one is to do with the issue to do with corruption. You see, corruption is a big problem, and this time we are talking about corruption, which is greedy corruption. Now, greedy corruption, you are looking at issue, the way the government is behaving. At the moment, you are looking at members of parliament, because you see, when members of parliament announced that we are going to announce we are going to increase our allowances, although they have not yet increased because the budget starts in 1st of July. So even other people start behaving in a funny way, because somebody says, now this member of parliament in the next 1 month, you will be earning double the salary allowance he has been earning. So for me now, let me take advantage of this crisis. We are in a crisis now. The member of parliament is adding. So what do I do? You get it? So some of the issues that we had. Then when the president spoke about, you were talking about the issue of the market, the integration of East Africa, and adding more members like Congo, increasing the market so that we can earn more revenue, then earn more incomes. Now, that is a good thing for us as the economy. But you see, we still have so many structural problems that you cannot directly bring that market to the local person in Chanamkaka. Now, the structural problems are mainly two. The first one is the bottlenecks that are within the East African community. Because when you look, the other day, the president of Tanzania was here in Uganda and says, now I have opened for the sugar and maize to go back to Tanzania. But you ask, 3 months ago, our sugar had been stopped from going to Tanzania. What was the problem? When you really make a critical analysis, there is no big problem actually, but it is just one country suspecting the other. So these suspicions that are within our country. The other day, yesterday but one, the president of Congo came out and accused Rwanda, saying this man is, these people are supporting. But you see, it becomes a problem. The people, whom should we believe? You are three heads of the family, of the same family. You are choosing one another. So for us, the children, what should we do? Or what should we believe? So how do we strategize so that, how do we invest? When you are fighting one another, how do we invest so that we can take advantage of this market? It's a challenge. So, sir, at the moment, let me address those. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Muganzi. That was very elaborate. Let me pick up Prossy. Prossy, let me come to you. If you look at Uganda's financial year budget for each and every single financial year, about 23% of the budget, so around 45% of the budget goes to debt financing. So it looks like we are financing debt each and every single year. And the issue of the debt burden, unless it skipped my mind, but I didn't hear it being tackled extensively by the president, and yet debt continues to strangle our economy one day at a time. So to you, Prossy, what do you think should have been the address regarding the debt burden? What do you think should have been tackled by the president so as to address the debt burden of the country, so that we can be able to utilize our resources much more efficiently? Prossy, Mr. Abraham, kindly mute your microphone and we hear from Prossy.
Okay, as I said it earlier, that the way how the president addressed us on the state of the nation, really, it was much disappointing. I was much disappointed, me as Prossy. Why? Because he didn't take us through the actual state. He didn't take us through in the reality of the situation we are in. As you have said, I expected to hear from him talking about debts and how are we going and how are we prepared to overcome such a problems. I was much disappointed. And in this, I have no any other hope. Why? Because now the government is spending more on things that really are not concerning the livelihoods of Ugandans. Take an example. He's increasing salaries. He's looking into the increment of the allowances of the MPs, and at the cost of Ugandans. And he didn't talk about the corruption, how he's going to deal with corruption, because corruption is leading us much into debts. The income collected here is ending up in people's pockets. The debt we get from World Bank and other agencies, it ends up in people's pockets. So really, I'm much disappointed, and the way he addressed us, really, I have no hopes. Which means the problems are going to keep on heaping. And that's why I do call upon the opposition leaders. Let them come out with such issues that really are burning, that really are concerned in our lives. Not this thing of boycotting the president whatsoever address of the state of the nation. I'm much disappointed, and I'm asking myself, where are we heading? I'm much disappointed in these MPs, the way are handling things. They are after things that are concerning their private lives. Adding on the allowances, adding on salaries, not concerned on big issues that really are affecting Ugandans. How are we prepared to overcome the debts? I expected to hear from the president that we are preparing ourselves in this thing of coffee, that we make sure at the end of this financial year, what will be corrected, at least clears some amount of the debt. But the way how things are worked on in our country, the way things are moving on, really, we are much disappointed in our leaders, and we are much disappointed. In me, I don't see that really there is a bright future of our country. In me, really, I don't see any hope that we are really moving from the worst to the best, because nothing's being prepared, nothing's being worked on that builds our hopes.
All right.
That really, these leaders of ours, they are planning us, and they are doing the best to change on the status of the what? Of the economy of our country. I'm much disappointed.
Okay, thank you, Prossy. So, colleagues, our time is fast spent. So I'm going to give each and every one of you 2 minutes to give us your concluding remarks. There could be way forwards, what should have been addressed, what was lacking. So in 2 minutes each. So I'll begin with you, Prossy, since you're already on. Then from Prossy, I will go to Mr. Walid. Then from Walid to Mr. Awio. Then I'll conclude with Mr. Muganzi. So in that order, you have 2 minutes each. So Prossy, the floor is yours. Your last words.
Yeah, my last words. I do call all Ugandans that we all belong to our country, and we all have rights to participate in any activity, in anything that concerns our country. I call upon our MPs. Let them mean the business in the house. Let them present our issues in the house. And I call upon everyone's attention. Let us put aside parties and what, but let us find always how to build our Uganda, because everything is in a sorry state. And if we keep on criticizing and doing what really, we are not finding the solutions for the good of our country. And I really call upon excuse me, Moses.
Yes, it's okay. Were you done? I think call upon all stakeholders to really play their part, right?
No, a moment, excuse me. Get to another one.
Okay, sure. Mr. Walid, the floor is yours. Your last words, you have 2 minutes. Mr. Walid Lubega, okay? Walid is not here. Awio, let us hear your last words.
I really want to call upon my president. I think because of his age, does things for granted for this country, and he takes everybody for granted. I would really call upon him. Age is something you cannot struggle with. He seems to be very tired now. I would call him upon to give up, throw in his boots, and somebody takes up so that we can move on the proper channel, other than coming to do things which are contrary to the constitution and taking things for granted, and now playing the broker game all the time in all issues of Uganda, like you saw in the Vinci copy thing. And I would really want to call upon Ugandans to rise up and wake up and really work for the change in their country, because without us rising up, very well, most of us know how the French Revolution came in. And there was inflation, is food inflation like we have now in Uganda. It will come to a time when all of us will have to rise up with this current situation, because if you fail to eat for like 2-3 days, you will be forced to go and look for what to eat. And let us not reach to that extent of being forced into the street because of failing to eat or getting what to eat. Let us just rise up and wake up and make this government listen to us. All other governments are intervening. They are bringing up interventions, like Uhuru Kenyatta came up with interventions in his country over this crisis. Why can't Uganda do that? I would just wish our MPs were doing what we sent them to do, but they have become hostage to the to the cabinet. I mean, the executive, instead of them standing like an arm of government as well. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much for those concluding remarks. Katushabe Eunice, you have 2 minutes to give us your last words on the show.
Thank you so much. Sorry, my network has been unstable, and I'm also having challenges with power. But I think for me, it would be around specifically to the government. And my recommendations would be, one, with the, with the surges in the international oil prices that are really increasing and that are causing a lot of, challenges to the country. I think it's time we establish, fuel rescues to manage some of these temporary challenges around oil. And then the other would be around the government expenditure that has really increased, and they are intending to increase it by, increasing some of their salaries, increasing their, incentives. But then this is the time now to reduce some of those expenditures, and so that we can be able to meet some of these demands that are currently we currently have as a country. And then the other would be around would be around the strategies that we intend to put in place to address some of these issues. Let us be realistic when we are developing these strategies. Let us be realistic when we are developing these models. We are not thinking about someone who is, a normal man or a normal woman. I call them common women or common men. We are thinking about ourselves. I don't know what we'll be doing while we are seated and developing these policies, as we are developing these models and strategies. We never consult these people. We never consult our citizens. And I think this is the time for us to go back and start consulting our people on what will really work for them. And I know they have a say in this, and they can be able to give their views, and we need to integrate their views in some of these aspects. But if we fail, if we don't work with the people, then let us be rest assured that most of these things will continue happening, and we will never have a better solution for some of these situations. And then to the president, I mean, the economy it's a liberalist economy. It's not a monopolized kind of economy. You cannot just come in play and make decisions for everyone and decide for everyone. I heard him when he was talking about the coffee thing, that some of my colleagues have been discussing. And it looks like he was commanding. It looked like he was really hurt by the decisions that, the MPs made. And he said, I have a voice. I'm coming here because I'm the kind who has my mouth and I'm going to speak about it. So it showed like he really had a lot of interest into this thing, but then not considering, the citizens of Uganda, not considering the farmers who put in a lot. He talked about irrigation. We have most of the wells are dry. Seriously, I know this has been in place for quite some time. They've introduced some irrigation schemes, but you talked about irrigation, seriously, the president, but then we need to remember that the swamps are being sold off. The wells are dry. I mean, so much is happening that you're not actually recognizing to see that you bring capable solutions to some of these situations. So you need you and your team. This is to the president and your team. I know at some point you get to see this. Kindly go back to the drawing board, look back and learn from experience and address people's situations. Thank you so much. Over to you, Moses.
All right. Thank you, Innocent. Mr. Walid, the floor is yours. You have 2 minutes to give us your last words. Then I'll conclude with Mr. Abraham. Okay, Walid isn't here. Abraham, let us begin with you. 2 minutes, then I'll go to Walid.
My parting shots are two, basically two. One is about this goes to all the leaders of government, that treating us badly. This is not the time to be, extravagant. Let the government be a little bit frugal. Let us really try to save some little money, because what is happening now, what is disappointing is that in this very time, which is biting everyone, I see a lot of our leaders living, moving, enjoying a lot of extravagance. You see the convoys have been increased. People are buying very, very, very expensive cars, which are pure gasoline and what? You see a lot of unnecessary expenditure from our leaders. So I call upon the government leaders that it's time to be frugal. Let us spend where we are supposed to spend. Let us not spend just for the sake of spending. The little money which can be saved, you never know, can be diverted to our hospitals, can be diverted to our schools, can be diverted to anything, so that we are able to survive this situation. And also an ordinary person like me, even us at our level as ordinary people, let us try to be also very frugal. Let us spend money where it is supposed to be spent. Let us stop these luxuries, you know, so that we can be able to live within our means. What you cannot afford, please let it go. You don't have to go borrow all sorts of loans all over the place, and then you are stuck, you know. So let us try to be frugal. That is point number one. Point number two, it also goes to government. Now, I appeal to the government. There are so many, in fact, I expected the president to say this, but he disappointed me, he didn't say this. So many people supply government a lot of things, but they have not been paid for a long time. People are struggling. You know, a lot of businessmen supplied to so many things to government, but they have not been paid. And the reason why they have not been paid is not because the money is not there. The money is there, but because of the too much bureaucracies that are in the government, it has led to a number of people not being paid. The other day I saw people who surprised what they are demanding 2 billion. This is very money from the Ministry of Agriculture. These people are talking to leaders, people who supply seedlings, people who supply this, people who supply a lot of things, you know. And at the end of the day, the financial year is ending. You see people saying we are returning millions and billions of money to the treasury. The money which was meant to pay for that, because of the incompetence and the bureaucracies that are within government, money goes back to the center. And some people, the businessmen are stuck. They can't pay their loans. They can't pay their workers, you know. So I appeal to government. Let us prioritize the issue of paying the domestic debts. If we have people who have supplied and money is available, let us see how to work around the clock, you know, beat these bureaucracies and let these people be paid. The last one is that my last parting shot is that this goes now to the members of parliament. I think we were excited about how we stood up on the issue of the coffee deal. We were also excited about how we stood up at the issue of land and then the issue of bail. So please promise us that you are also going to continue standing with the common man on issues that affect a daily person, a daily common person in Chana Mkaka. Please, we beg you, you are our voice, you are our ears, you are our everything. When you don't stand up and defend us at all costs, you leave us to be left in the island. We shall drown in the lake. You know, the situation is not good. Inflation is biting us. The economy is struggling. We are struggling. So you please try to put up a fight for us as a common people. Otherwise, I want to wish you well, all my participants, my fellow participants. This was a good discussion. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Lubega, are you now ready? Well, to all the participants, all the panelists, from Mr. Awio to Mr. Walid Lubega to Eunice Katushabe to Abraham Muganzi, then to Prossy, who left us already. Thank you very much for sparing the time. To our audience, thank you for always tuning in to the community show. From us to you, we say bye-bye. See you next week, same time, same place.